Hi! Welcome to my channel. I am so excited to be able to shoot this video today. It has been a day. I have 3 little kids. I just put them to bed and I finally have just like 1 minute to myself so that I can shoot this video. I hope that you guys are enjoying these videos and finding them helpful. So I am Erin Hart. I am a nurse, a mom, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and a health coach. I've gone through my own transformation this last year, and I've lost more than 125 pounds by following Brightline eating. I am not affiliated at all with them, but I do recommend the book to everyone. There are 4 bright lines in Brightline eating. Bright lines meaning a line in the sand that you just don't cross, like a smoker that doesn't smoke anymore. They are no sugar or sweeteners, no flour or anything that's processed into a fine powder, a set amount of meals without snacking in between, and I do 3 meals a day, and then weighed and measured quantities for the 4th line. Following this program as outlined without any major exceptions has been the key to my success, and I just have gained so much peace and freedom from food obsession and addiction by adopting this lifestyle. I feel like it's healthy and sustainable and such a great way to live, but it's not for everyone. But if you have struggled with yo-yo dieting and have tried everything and not had lasting success, this may be for you. And I definitely recommend going to their website at brightlineeating.com and under the Get Started tab, they have some really great videos. There's 4 food freedom videos, and I would definitely watch that series. So whatever you're doing to lose weight, whether it's Brightline eating or another method, you probably are eating less calories than you're taking in. That's just what we have to do in the weight loss phase, obviously. The amount of food that you eat, that I eat, is actually a ton of food, because when you cut out the processed food from your diet and eat things that are in their natural whole form, it is a lot of food and it is very filling, but you still may be dealing with some hunger and cravings. So I get asked about this a lot, and in this video today we're going to talk about dealing with physical and emotional hunger, as well as cravings during the weight loss phase. Sugar and flour really can have a strong hold on our brains. You may not realize how dependent your brain is on those substances even. When I read the Brightline eating book, I didn't identify with being a food addict or a binger. I never thought about myself that way. It wasn't until I actually started that I realized that my brain and body were really dependent on sugar and flour. That first week of not eating sugar and flour helped me to realize that I really was a food addict. I went through physical withdrawal. I had headaches and fatigue, and my brain just craved those foods. It was really interesting and eye-opening. I don't think that everyone is a food addict like I am, and this may not be your experience, but there is a lot of evidence out there how highly addictive sugar is. So the first few weeks were really challenging for a couple of reasons. I was having a lot of cravings for the foods that used to bring me comfort, and I experienced some physical hunger as well, which I really hadn't allowed myself to feel for years. Literally, I don't think that I had felt true hunger for years, because I was so uncomfortable with that sensation that I would constantly eat to avoid feeling hungry. I read the book 3 times and started experimenting with less flour and sugar for a couple of weeks before I really jumped in and planned my day 1. I knew that I needed to change. I was at my rock bottom and I was all in. So I had to learn to deal with the hunger and cravings, because I wasn't going back. Now, it's important that you know that hunger and cravings that you have in the first few weeks is temporary. It gets easier. After the sugar and flour were out of my system, my cravings dramatically decreased. Really, after a few weeks of eating this way, I stopped having any cravings, and I was even able to bake treats for my girls without being tempted to eat one, which is so crazy for me. But I was still dealing with some hunger at that point, so I switched my meal times so I wasn't going so long in between meals. And I pushed off breakfast to 10 or 11, lunch at 2 to 3, and dinner at 5 or 6. And that form of intermittent fasting really helped me to decrease my hunger dramatically. And after that, I was very rarely hungry. But I want to talk about dealing with hunger and cravings in those first few weeks especially. And maybe your experience will be different than mine. And you may have hunger and cravings for an extended period of time. I don't know. So the book has some really good chapters on this, and I think you should read it. It helps me to know that hunger and cravings are temporary. So once your body and mind get used to eating this way, you'll get to a point where it feels automatic and effortless. And that feeling is so great. But until that point, you need to learn how to deal with those sensations. Cravings will pass. Give them 20 to 30 minutes. Mantras help. Saying things like, that's not my food, or I know what that tastes like. I've had enough of that for a lifetime. I don't need it anymore. Have really helped me to overcome cravings in the moment. Another one I say to myself is that I am stronger than this craving. If you're having a strong craving for a certain food, that is the reward center of your brain asking for some stimulation so that it can release dopamine to help you to feel good. Do not give in to cravings. As we stick to our plan and say no to those foods, we're training our brain and teaching it that we don't eat those foods anymore. The more consistently we are sticking to our food plan, the easier it will be for our brain, and our brain will quiet down eventually. It reminds me of my 1-year-old. She's almost 2. And for anyone that has kids or maybe pets, you know how important consistency is. If my baby is throwing a temper tantrum and behaving badly to get something that she wants, and I give in, then she knows that next time she can try that again, and I may give in again. So it's the same with our brains. Our brains are like 2-year-olds in this respect. Intermittent rewards will light up that reward center in your brain, and it will leave it wanting more. And then next time that you're faced with a situation that's tempting, you're going to have a lot of thoughts about it, and you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to give in or not. When you're trying to lose weight and change your lifestyle, this is what we are trying to avoid. We want to quiet down all of those food thoughts. You don't want to have to rely on willpower to lose weight, because our willpower is used up from everything else in our lives. I find the most peace by just choosing to abstain completely from those foods that contain sugar and flour. There's a saying that I feel is so accurate. It goes, 100% is a breeze, 98% is a beast. Some people are able to moderate, and I think that is so great. And if you can be successful moderating, I think that you should. But if you are highly susceptible to food addiction and have tried and failed many times at moderating, you may have more peace by abstaining. You need to do what gives you the most peace. Many of my clients choose to moderate, and that is fine. They have different brain than I do, and I help them to find what works for them and their lifestyle. Not everyone is ready to give up flour and sugar right away. My advice is to do what gives you the most peace, and then surround yourself with support around that decision and run the experiment. Collect the data and then just adjust your plan if you need to. So now let's talk about hunger. In my mind, there are 2 types of hunger. There's physical and emotional hunger. Physical hunger is physiological. It is true hunger. It's our body's way of telling us that we need to eat. And when we're losing weight, we will occasionally feel this type of hunger. And that is normal and expected, because we are eating less calories than our body needs to maintain its weight. That calorie deficit is a good thing when you're overweight, because our bodies will burn fat to meet the metabolic demands, and that will result in weight loss. At a conference last summer put on by the Brightest Eaters of Utah and the Brightest Eaters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the keynote speaker, Rob Rains, he said something that really helped me to wrap my head around hunger. He said that learning what was happening physiologically in the body when we feel physical hunger was really helpful for him to become more comfortable with that sensation. So hunger pains usually occur around 2 hours after a meal and are caused from the stomach contracting and pushing the remaining stomach contents into the intestines. The stomach then contracts and shrinks back down in preparation for the next meal, kind of the same way that the uterus contracts after delivering a baby. So the sensation of the stomach contracting doesn't necessarily hurt, right? It's just a little uncomfortable. But I like how in the book she described it as kind of cute in a grumbly little way. It's a sensation. It's not an emergency. The speaker, Rob, I like what he said, because he said that when he realized that hunger is the midpoint between abundance and abundance, that just really helped him to become comfortable with hunger. We eat a ton of whole, clean, real, colorful, and delicious food. We have enough. You eat so much food. You need to trust that what you are eating is enough, and that it's abundant. Hunger is not an emergency. And like the saying goes, no one ever died between lunch and dinner. It's okay to feel a little hungry, because when it's hardest, it's working. You're doing it. You're making the changes that will help you to achieve your goal body. You need to become okay with feeling a little hunger. And that may take some work on your part. Oh, sorry. Maybe some journaling, talking to someone to analyze why you're so uncomfortable with it could be important for you. Consider seeking help from a mental professional even, or your primary care doctor. Sometimes there is a deeper issue that needs to be explored. It gets easier, and you're not going to starve your whole life. It's really just the initial weight loss phase that it's the hardest for people. After a month or two, your brain starts to heal, and hunger usually decreases dramatically. I very rarely ever feel hungry, especially now that I'm in the maintenance phase and have added in a lot of food. But even when I was in the weight loss phase, I was very rarely hungry after the first few weeks. I even sometimes now have trouble eating all of the food, but I make sure to eat everything on my plan because I know that my body needs it for fuel. I recommend never eating under your plan. Your body needs all of that food. Now, the second kind of hunger that you may experience is emotional hunger. I was a major emotional eater, and this one still sneaks up on me occasionally, but I struggled with it the most during the first few weeks. It was a habit for me to eat in certain situations. I really ate all the time. Any emotion that I was feeling was a reason to eat. I would eat when I was angry or sad, or when I was celebrating for special occasions. You know, my emotions were really closely tied to food because I had built habits around eating and would dull my emotions by eating to make me feel better. And that little surge of dopamine that I got when I ate helped me to deal with the stresses and emotions of life. This was a very destructive coping mechanism, and it led me to gain more than 120 pounds in 10 years. I may be an extreme example, but I know that most of us struggle with emotional eating in some form or another. When going through the first week of the program, I quickly realized that I didn't know how to deal with those emotions without food. I had to retrain my brain and find new, healthier coping mechanisms to deal with life that didn't involve food. My friend Liesl helped me with this. She taught me that when you're feeling an emotion, it's really important to identify which emotion it is. Give it a name, like anger, sadness, fear, boredom, joy, exhaustion, and then just allow yourself to feel that emotion. Feel that feeling. We are conditioned to suppress emotions. From the time that we're kids, where we hear phrases like, don't cry, or don't let that get you down. Or sometimes good intending people will remind you how lucky you are compared to others. Our culture teaches us to avoid unpleasant emotions at all costs. And many of us turn to unhealthy behaviors like overeating. Or even some people turn to alcoholism or shopping or drugs to suppress those feelings, to allow, and instead of allowing ourselves to deal with them head on. So when it comes to emotional hunger, I find that there are 3 things I do to deal with it. Number 1, I identify and label what emotion I'm feeling. Number 2, get out of the kitchen and remove yourself from the situation. And then number 3, self-care. We need to deal with those emotions head on now. So when I'm angry, for example, instead of eating to feel better, I will take a walk around the block, or I'll journal, or I'll talk with that person and try to resolve it. I may call a friend to vent. When I'm bored, I'll get out of the house and I'll go find something to do. I'll find some service that I can do for someone, or maybe go get a pedicure or something. When I'm celebrating, I love to just focus on the reason that we're celebrating and the people that are there and try to connect with them. When I'm sad, I think it's okay to just cry, to feel the emotion and not bury it. I'll write in my journal. And when I'm tired at the end of a long day of taking care of kids or coming home from a long shift at the hospital, I'll take a bubble bath and I'll go to bed early. Self-care, people. This has really enriched my life. Life is so much more rewarding when we allow ourselves to feel all the feelings that come with this crazy life of ours, the ups and the downs. I feel like I can feel more joy in my life now and more love because I allow myself to feel down sometimes too. I feel like I have greater capacity to give because I'm caring for myself. And that's such a wonderful gift that you can give to your family and to the world. Take care of yourself. Practice self-care. Sometimes we feel guilty when we take time and energy and resources to care for our own needs, but you can't help others unless you're in a state of wellness yourself. So take the time. Sometimes it may be hard to distinguish between this physical hunger and emotional hunger, and that's okay. Journaling has really helped me to understand myself better and to become okay with the sensation of hunger. But don't hide behind food anymore. I found that after a few weeks of finding new ways to cope with my emotions without using food, it got easier and easier, and I have established new habits that have really enriched my life. Sometimes old habits want to creep back in, but just stick with it and be kind to yourself. Surround yourself with support. This is a journey and it's not a destination. Remember, progress, not perfection. Don't be perfect. Just be unstoppable. You got this. I know that you can reach your goals. Hang in there and just don't give up. Reach out for support. You can do it. So thank you so much for watching my video today. I hope that you will like and subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so that you won't miss my next video. I'm going to keep putting out weekly content on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find me at Erin Hart Health Coaching. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.